detective thrill me.
Thanks for joining us again. We continue along the road of the Mad Max franchise. This time we're stopping off at Barter Town. Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. Maddie, Jared, good to have you here. Before we get into it though, quick round the grounds. What have we been watching? Mine is very, very, very quick.
Yeah, same.
I watched a couple more episodes of Mr. Mercedes. Yeah, solid, good. I'm still going along as per. I'm starting to notice that they might deviate slightly from what the ending was in the book, but I'm happy to go along with it. We watched the first episode of a show that dropped like yesterday called The Society.
Yeah.
Which has a real The Mist vibe.
Yeah.
And Under the Dome, again, both King sort of things, but
it's where the teenagers get left.
Yeah, basically they come back from a trip away to their small town and everyone's gone. And then the whole place is cut off. They got no Wi-Fi. They got nothing.
Yeah.
And the whole idea of, you first you think, oh, it's awesome. We'll just party and no getting told what to do. Then you start realising we're going to run out of food. We're going to run out of water. Then factions start coming up. So look, it was a solid first step. And the last one was I watched Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile, the Ted Bundy film with Zac Efron in the role. Look, solid film. Didn't go deeply into his crimes, and it was more about his relationship with his girlfriend and the court stuff. And Efron is absolutely fantastic. He's perfect for the role, and Lily Collins is actually very good as well. So it's definitely worth a look. I believe there's also a small role from the lead singer of Metallica as a police officer who captures Bundy or pulls him over. But solid. So check it out if you can.
Nice.
All right, Matty, what do you got?
Yeah. Mine's even more shallow than yours. I've got. I've just been smashing out The Office. I love The Office. Season 7's going through, and I'm absolutely loving it. There was a scene where Dwight was talking about how everyone in the office had been mollycoddling their anuses with double ply. Toilet paper for too long, and now that he owns the building, he's refusing to supply them with the double ply. I don't know where they come up with it.
Mollycoddling their anus.
Yeah. Hey mate, this is a serious conversation. I remember last election, I think me and Adam were having a conversation, and I said if I was a poly, I'm running on a 3-ply in public toilet ticket. I'm running on the blue ticket. That's right.
And I'll vote for you.
Yeah, look, you know what?
That's way cheaper than a bullet train.
Let me tell you something right now. If it comes down to eating or wiping my ass, I'm going with a 3-ply packet toilet paper. I'm serious.
Yeah, we'll starve for a couple of days as long as that's taken care of.
Yeah, as long as my ass has been well looked after.
I can go 3 days comfortably. 3 days without food comfortably.
According to Bear Grylls, all you need is water. Right.
So that was my number one. My wife went to the dressmaker exhibition exhibit, so we watched that.
Is that any good?
Yeah, it's actually pretty good. It's a lot darker than I thought it would be. I was like, it'll be like Muriel's wedding or something like that, and it just some pretty gritty.
There's a Hemsworth in there, isn't it?
There's a Hemsworth in it. Yeah, meets a don't won't put spoilers in there, but a bit sad what happens to him. And there's even the best, like one of the nastiest murders I've seen pops in the end with one of the blokes who deserves it. So it's a pretty decent watch, actually.
I didn't realise there was murder and stuff going on.
Yeah, you wouldn't think so. Yeah. But Kate Winslet just keeps getting better. I absolutely love her work. She's like showing that she's got comedy chops and dramatic chops.
I believe she was in movie 43 and the sequence with that's her comedy chops, because she was in a sequence in movie 43 with Hugh Jackman where he has testicles on his throat.
Okay.
It has to be seen to be believed.
That's just popped up on Netflix, thankfully, so we can all check it out.
Might have to, yeah.
It has to be seen to be believed.
At what point do you reckon Jackman realised he was going to have testicles?
I reckon, deep down, Jackman loved it. He loved it. I can tell you now. It was, you know what? I giggled hard during that sequence for some reason.
I love her in extras.
Because of course, he says something. He comes in and he goes, "Geez, it's getting a little bit cold in here." And of course,
oh no, the shrinkage, significant shrinkage. Her in extras was one of the best things I've ever seen. Though she was like gold in that. My last one, I watched this with my mother-in-law. Watched this movie called Nebraska, which is about.
Oh, is that Will Forte?
Yeah, Will Forte, and it's got Bob Odenkirk in it as well. So I know those guys. Those guys are in Tim and Eric Awesome Show. Great job if you've ever seen that. A weird watch, but yeah, it's a pretty serious movie, but it just has some of the funniest moments in it. It's basically this old bloke who decides that. He's going to collect a $1 million ticket, but it's basically just a marketing campaign.
Yeah.
But he just refuses to accept that it is, and he might have dementia or Alzheimer's, but his son takes him on a journey to go get it, and goes to his old hometown. There's a whole bunch of growth in there, and just people getting told to fuck off, which is funny. It's done in the right way.
So good film.
I loved it. Yeah, I thought it was really good. It's a bit slow going for probably this audience if you're into the action stuff, but it's but I thought it was a good dramatic comedy in it.
Sure.
So
is that it, mate?
Yeah, that's it. Very, very slight this week.
Jared?
Yeah, I still had Game of Thrones going. I've been keeping up with that each episode, new episodes. Not really disappointing. There's a few things I'm not really liking so much about it, but at this point, it's kind of moving so fast towards the finish of everything that it's kind of hard to disappoint until we really get into the nitty gritty, I suppose, and find out what happens. But What We Do in the Shadows, continues to be one of the best shows I've watched recently. The last episode, they hit the town with the Baron that's come to town, who's like this really old vampire and running things, and they end up at a party, and he starts drinking someone's blood, and it turns out the bloke's been on drugs. So next thing you know, they're at a fucking dance party, and they're all it's just absolute gold. And I believe the next episode, there's this council of vampires in there. I think it's going to drop here in a couple of days, but it's already aired in America, and there's this council of vampires in it, and apparently they've got like people who played vampires in other things. So Tilda Swinton's one of them, and then Wesley Snipes Skypes into the meeting and all this sort of shit. So it's looking good. I'm really enjoying it so far. I got caught up into some Gotham. I spent a lot of time watching Gotham.
That'd be just at the end, wouldn't it?
Well, it's finishing in America, but Netflix is a little bit behind here, so I let it bank up a little bit.
Sure.
I just ripped through season 3, which wasn't so great, a bit of a letdown, but there's season 4's on there, and I reckon 5's going to drop pretty soon after it finishes in the States. So. But I'm still enjoying it. I still like it for what it is. There's just a few storylines that weighed it down in season 3, and the last thing I watched was finally sat down and went through the whole Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
Great soundtrack.
Great soundtrack. You don't get, as we put it
always
out
had that going for it.
You do not get points for that.
Yeah, exactly. Look, it was entertaining enough for what it was, but you're just watching it thinking this should have been just so much better.
So much debauchery.
Yeah, well, it should have had, like, Rami Malek was excellent, but I just don't understand why they took the liberties they did, like why they just lied about breaking up and things like that. I still can't understand that, and it took the shine off it.
Yeah.
Like, something for me, I know some people didn't like this scene, but taking the liberty of creating the record exec that Mike Myers plays and talks about, like, you know, no one wants to hear this Bohemian Rhapsody or whatever. I mean, that was based in fact, but it was someone that was a bit closer to them, and you know, that's the kind of liberty that you can run with, because it was kind of a funny scene. But when you're just out and out making up bullshit about
it, add drama.
Yeah, you made up this bullshit about this band that had a pretty fucking compelling story regardless.
Yeah.
I just don't understand.
And the fact they pulled out probably the most interesting part of it is him coping with this disease.
Exactly.
And they just, instead they roll with, we're going to show him at Wembley. And
yeah, exactly. And I mean, the debauchery is linked to that. It's linked to where it all went for him.
Yeah.
And even with all that, I don't know how you can't finish it on a high with the way that he did.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty much well regarded that he just basically said, "Don't fucking. This is gonna. I'm just gonna live it till it's done."
Did I have the tragedy of him like not being able to get out of bed. He got out of bed for one song per day and then went back and rested.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's just like.
But even if you took the
art,
isn't that a pretty great finish?
Oh,
but even if you took
this was his life. That you see some of that, but then you see him get out there and knock a tune out.
And the people that he touched and just the fact that his art changed so much. You listen to the Innuendo album, it's just all about his sickness and his imminent death, and he's just like, oh, that's so much more interesting.
Like
but
Live Aid felt like the natural kind of fist pump ending.
Yeah.
But it didn't end that way. It didn't end that way for him. Like, it was kind of like he was in the throes of it, but he still kind of went out saying, don't feel sorry for me.
Sad we didn't get to see Sacha Baron Cohen going full.
Yeah, well, he wanted to go all in.
Yeah. See, his might have been too far that one way. But
I don't think he would. I reckon he would have been pretty honest, but I think he would have been, like, brutally honest.
Yes. And look, that may have made for a better film. It may have. But even if you wanted to take the approach of flashing back, you know, being able to flash back to finish on high, if that's how you wanted to do it, because I understand wanting to finish at Wembley because it was, you know, the Live Aid concert was huge.
Yeah.
But I agree with Jared. You end at a point where it's not over.
Yeah, that's right.
So, you know, where are we? It kind of just feels like they just go, chop, that's the end of that.
Yeah. And how about they've still been around for the last how many years?
I'd love to see a couple of hours worth of them picking up Terry Street Derby and
Bohemian Rhapsody too. The
Brian Roger Taylor story.
The Brian Roger Taylor, because John Deacon disappeared.
He bailed
straight away.
He opened up a hotel or something.
Yeah, no, he took his millions.
He's probably still getting royalties.
He is.
Oh well, shit. Yeah, you could have retired after 1 or 2 albums and you'd still be making money off it.
Is that it, mate?
Yeah, that was it for me. That was it.
All right. Let's take a break. Here's the trailer for 1985's Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
The world had been through a trial by fire, and only the greatest warriors and their deadliest enemies emerged from the flames.
Who are you?
Nobody.
Oh, mister, I can feel it. The dice are rolling.
He was the one they called Mad.
But he's just a raggedy man.
But to those whose lives hung in the balance,
What's the waiting ones? Waiting for what? Waiting for you.
he was the one they called Hero.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying times here.
Now, Mad Max is back in Beyond Thunderdome. Mel Gibson, Tina Turner, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome from 1985, directed by George Miller and George Ogilvy, who gave us the Australian police thriller The Feds, Seduction. It's produced by George Miller and written by George Miller and Terry Hayes, who wrote The Road Warrior. Stars Mel Gibson as Max, Bruce Spence as Jebediah the pilot, Tina Turner as Auntie, and Angry Anderson as Iron Bar. Budget was $10 million. A few giggles about Angry Anderson, is it? Box office was $36 million in the US. Now, George Miller lost interest in the project after his friend and producer Byron Kennedy was killed in a helicopter accident while location scouting. That may explain why Miller only handled the action scenes while George Ogilvy handled the rest.
Yeah. I had to go and check because it felt different to the other two.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel like it had the same flow.
Let's get straight into it. Matty, your thoughts and a score on this one.
Without Angry Anderson, 1.5.
With Angry?
Give it a 2.5. He's worth a point. Look, like I said, I think there was too much Mel Gibson in this. The plot, even though it seems like it's a good Hollywood plot for a movie, just got dragged down at some point, and it didn't feel as much like a Mad Max movie. The stuff that we like out of 1, 2 and 4 is just not in this one. So, and then there's parts of it where you're just like, this doesn't make any sense. So yeah, that's where I sit.
Jared?
Part of me wanted to go a 3 because I really used to like it when I was a kid, and it was the one that we saw the most, I think, because again, one of the channels here used to show it a lot.
Well, it's the only one that's PG-13.
Yeah, so you
others are all
would get the access to it a lot. But I think 2.5 is probably fair. For a guy that didn't really want to forge any relationships with anyone, there's a fucking lot of people that he's got to be involved with in this one. And they take away, Maddie's right, like some of the world building stuff I felt was interesting, but it completely took Max off the road and off those action sequences until right at the end when they tried to kind of capture it, and it was too late, and it wasn't even one of the good ones. So it was entertaining enough, but yeah, it's a fair old drop from the other ones.
Yeah, it's a pretty big drop for me. I hovered at 2.5, but I ended up deciding on 2 because the midsection is just labouring. It is a totally different film. Yeah. You know what it feels like? It feels like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Very, very reminiscent of the kids in the mine from that film. Yeah. This is what that feels like. And it feels like a kid's film that Mad Max just suddenly walked into.
Yeah.
It's really weird. It's jarring. Like that, right? The book ends in Barter Town. I could have gone with Barter Town. Yeah. Sticking in Barter Town and perhaps having come some kind of overthrowing situation there, and the factions with the Master Blaster and Auntie, it could have worked out okay.
If he's spent as much time as he has in this desolate, barren wasteland, and he gets to the Utopia, and some kids leave it, and he's like, I think I'm going to leave this place to go and help out these kids. Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. Max has been a loner.
That's
so
right.
Why would he even bother? He'd be like...
I couldn't.
All right, you off you go.
I'd be like, guys, you're being dumb. Yeah. Like, and that's as far as I could take it. Yeah. And I'm a responsible adult. I care about kids.
Are you?
But I'd just be like, that's a shame.
Look, I would say that it kind of, to start the likes off, I feel the world still feels like Mad Max 2. Yeah. When you turn up to Barter Town, you got the weird costumes and the random people and the, it's still got that vibe.
Yeah. Barter Town, like when you first get there, it looked pretty solid, and they bring the water stuff into it that takes over from the gasoline a little bit. Yeah. Obviously, there's a bit of both of that in Fury Road and a little bit in this one too, but it kind of sets up the water stuff that is used to much better effect in Fury Road.
Yeah. But it still feels like Max, like the Max world. Like they do a good job to get us into Barter Town and get us pretty happy with what we see. Yeah, yeah. So I felt that the world building was okay for some parts, and that's what I mean. In Barter Town, I felt at home. I felt Mad Max territory.
I still like that they've created this society out of the leftovers of the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Like it's got a good feel to that end, and the things that they're trading are things that we might not take, or that we take for granted.
Yeah, and look, because we're in the early sort of bigger picture things, who doesn't love a little bit of Tina Turner's 80s pop punching out over the credits? Oh, yeah, and then we get a little bit of we don't need another hero. Yeah. Love that shit.
They attached some good music to it for sure.
And excellent addition. I didn't actually mind her.
I thought she was alright. She did exactly what they were expecting, which was she kind of goes a bit over the top.
Yeah. Singing her lines out.
But it was kind of okay. It was perfect for what it was. And look, I agree there was too much Gibson. Yeah. But I felt he was at that, he had the screen presence really happening in this one. I love that sequence where he turns up to find out I'm looking for a bloke. And he goes, so there's no work in the brothels, and he grabs the guy, and then the guy comes out with the nunchucks, he starts going, and he just sort of turns around and goes, and shoots off his head thing. Yeah. It was just kind of a really sort of assured way to bring him in. Yeah. I will agree, there is too much Max. Yeah. Which is
I didn't like
strange
the-
to
I didn't
say
like the
about a
look of
movie
him
with
either.
named after.
I didn't like the look of him. The long hair, I just felt like it was too far removed.
Yeah, cut that shit.
It
And he
was
just
like,
felt
it was,
like-
no, I thought it was great. It was like Riggs had been lost in the desert for a couple of weeks. And, excellent look from Mel.
Go
But I
spit.
thought-
He
I'd
looked
say-
like Braveheart.
Yeah, he did.
He did. He looked like Braveheart.
I felt again it was a takeaway from the character. The character didn't seem like he felt like he was trying to be more survivalist rather than
Look, the
like, had
man's hygiene is
vendetta.
rubbish. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
I think-
vendetta against the bad guys was the thing that was holding it together in the first couple.
There was
as
just
well.
there was an edge that wasn't there.
Yeah.
Like in the first one,
was
there was
gone.
this edge to him that just wasn't there.
He could have been any man. It could have been anybody's story in this world. It didn't necessarily need to be Mad Max.
Yeah.
Which is
I actually really loved the opening shot too.
The
That
camel.
shot from wide out
yeah.
on the camel, and then it comes
The
in,
music
it comes
as
in,
well.
comes in. Then as it goes over him, we then cut away to Max getting
Yeah.
knocked on the ground.
I
And
did like that it had all that the ties to Australia. I like the indigenous music in there, and
Yeah.
I thought that's a really nice way. Again, it's makes it a bit closer to home for us. You know, the fact that you can tie in this could be happening to us or this could be happening here.
I must admit, for some reason I had to giggle, even though all I could think about was Frank Drebin. When he goes, leave your weapons here, it's the law. And he's just pulling guns out of every orifice and putting them on the table. And there's about 15 guns on there, plus a crossbow.
That was Tackleberry from Police Academy.
There you go. So I started laughing, and I was thinking, is that a Frank Drebin joke?
That was excellent.
They even had those little girl guns you have attached to your ankles.
Yeah, that's right. He had a lot of them. Even though it's probably the worst of the Mad Max series, it's got a couple of the most memorable bits.
Yeah.
Like the whole Thunderdome stuff.
Thunderdome stuff is great.
When they're singing out 2 men enter, 1 man leave, and everyone sort of scurries up the cage and things like that. Like that's
I love the idea
some
of the
most
weaponry
memorable stuff.
and being on those on the bungee cords.
Yeah.
So they're flying around getting the weapons and stuff. I thought that stuff was great, and
Yeah.
that sequence is probably the best of the film.
He learns it pretty quick.
Yeah,
Yeah, he does. He works it out pretty well.
doing the flips over Master Blaster.
Yeah.
But I thought that sequence at least had a bit of energy to it.
Yeah.
And the whole thing about him trying to get the whistle.
Yeah.
He keeps trying to get the whistle and it's knocked
Yeah.
out of his hands and he's standing on him. And
It was a good reveal though. Good reveal in the at the end of that fight.
That was actually one of my big likes, is
Yeah.
the reveal of Blaster. That was a massive shock, and it's
Yeah.
something I always remember from.
That was
he
my
knocked
first
the
thing when
helmet
he
off.
said we were going to do this one. I was like, isn't that when? Yeah.
I remember seeing when I was a kid and seeing that, I was just like, "What the fuck?" Like I was just stunned.
Yeah.
Even now, it's still got a little bit of impact behind it. If only Master wasn't such a pain in the ass.
Good lord.
Slacks, Jack.
At one point they
Good,
threatened to
sorry.
feed him to the pigs, and I'm like, just
Okay.
get it over with. And get the fuck
Do
in
us
there.
do us all a favour. Barter Town's been fucking begging for it. I can tell you.
Staying in likes territory where they decide to make their... Because there's a massive portion there that I've got in my dislikes. Essentially, a large portion of the film in the middle is in the dislikes. I did like the fact that they come back to Barter Town and make a kind of a raid on it. And that stuff was okay. The action scenes were kind of... You know, they were at least somewhat exciting. It felt a little bit jokey at times, though.
Yeah.
They even pulled the Indiana Jones trick where he chases those guys through the door and then he
Yeah.
comes running back out and there's 50 of them chasing him.
Yeah.
But that had a little bit more energy, and then we finally get on the road.
Yeah.
And as you said, Jared, it's not the best of the series, but it's probably as exciting as this movie gets.
Yeah, it's still one of the more exciting portions.
Look, I
of the
didn't
movie.
see anybody fucking flipping stuntmen forever flipping through the air.
Yeah, I think people got danger pay on this one. Miller had toned it down a little bit. People got-
Ogilvy's in the trailer with Miller going, "We have to put safety precautions in, George. This is a $10 million budget."
I think that's why he walked off the picture.
Yeah. But they pull it down to a PG as well. Like
Yeah.
they can't get away with as much of the stuff that we actually
that
really
hurts
like about
badly
the first
to
couple.
me.
Oh, but you can still have a bloke airborne and flipping over about 16 times. That's that still fits in the PG category.
As long as we don't see the aftermath of him
that's
landing,
right.
I think we safely say that's okay.
They probably saved some stuntmen's lives by making it PG.
Yeah, I think so.
Look, we do get back. Look, the action scenes are shot pretty crisp. They're exciting. We do get back to stuntman lunacy territory with Angry Anderson stunt double strapped to the bottom of a fucking moving train. Which I was sitting there going, surely that guy died. But it never quite feels like, that epic sequence at the end of The Road Warrior.
No, it felt very much like an effort to just put that in because we felt like we had to.
Yeah.
It just didn't. Yeah, it almost seemed out of place in this one. But because it was in the context of the other movies, you're watching it going, oh, thank God we got a little bit of this. But when you look at the rest of the movie, it doesn't feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's no other chase scenes with the car at all.
No, very, very, very little of that stuff.
Look, that was the only other thing I liked was I kind of liked the ending, how they wanted to go to the city, and he told them no, it was gone, and they finally see it when they're flying over, and it is ruined, and then we end with them telling kind of like the mythology story of Max again.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
I just liked the way that's kind of ended.
I thought it was a nice way to finish it, and it did flow with the plot. And like I said, it was a good enough plot, but I don't know, there was some element missing that just didn't make it feel like a Mad Max movie.
It felt Hollywood.
Yeah,
it's funny to say that. I mean, is there any more likes?
Angry Anderson.
Angry Anderson.
Him yelling.
Look, I've got some dislikes to Angry, but he certainly entertained me while he was in the picture.
I got pretty excited, to be honest.
True. Angry has plenty to do, and it's all funny.
And don't tell me that anybody else in the picture looked as natural a fit as a citizen of Barter Town as Angry Anderson. The bloke just fit perfectly. He was one of the more well-fed people in Barter Town too.
Angry certainly fit in like a glove.
He played smug well. He played angry and loud well. He
just did a lot of screaming, but it was perfect for what he was doing.
I just don't know how he didn't get more work after this. This is real.
His career should have taken off. I think people were probably looking at him going, "Gee, who's this bloke?" And then when they got to his catalogue, they found the performance from the fucking AFL Grand Final. Shit.
We were going to hire him. Now we've balked on that.
Poor old Angry.
Any other likes?
I think we pretty much covered what I had there.
All right, my biggest, as I said before, it's too Hollywood.
Yeah.
It lacks the raw edge that the first two have.
Yeah.
I mean, there were permits involved in this. That is unacceptable.
Yeah, not good enough, George.
The simplicity of the other ones, where it's like it's a revenge movie, or it's a
simple A to B story.
This one, the premise starts off with, I'm going to trade my skills as an assassin or as a renegade in order to help you get power back in this city.
For reasons unknown that I would be picked. From
Master Blaster, of all people, who apparently has all this power. It's just silly.
He ran the pig shit downstairs, but it didn't feel right, and it didn't have the raw edge, even though you had all those weird and wonderful characters and all the weird costumes, and it looked a bit, it had a better sheen to it.
Yeah.
And it didn't.
These people
really
wouldn't be interacting the way they were in this community. They wouldn't be like in each other's hair the same way. They'd be separate, and you'd have to deal with the politics as opposed to, let's get everyone in the same room and then find an excuse to put an arrow through a bloke.
Yeah. And also, I understand that. I appreciate they were trying to go with expanding the world, being that it's probably a requirement when you're onto the third film, which has basically been 2 road films.
Yeah.
You probably want to expand, but unfortunately it's to its detriment.
Yeah, that's right.
Because then you bring in this midsection that is really has really very little to do with Barter Town, if at all.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like it's a place that Max...
You could have expanded on that world without Max being a part of it, and then brought him in some other way,
maybe
to ruin things, or to
maybe like it could have been concurrent.
It
could have been some concurrent sort of back and forth, so we could have got to know the kids a bit better, and because this one's actually really under characterized, which is funny considering the other two films...
They do so much with
Yeah,
very
so little.
little. Yeah.
Well, that's the one of the things I found was that, you know, the sheer number of people when you get to something like Barter Town, it actually takes away from, even though the costuming and stuff still looks impressive, it takes away from it all because they get lost in the shuffle, and then you lose the little details of things like in the Road Warrior, where you picked up on relationships between people in the gang through nothing but seeing them for a few scenes.
Yeah.
You just there wasn't any of that in this one.
I mean, we didn't even get to know what Angry Anderson's deal was. I mean,
it was essential to get to know Angry better, I felt.
That's what I felt.
The dialogue was like weighted down as opposed to building it up.
Yes.
Which in the first, especially even the second one, a lot of the interactions before they're like threatening the opposite town.
Which is interesting considering it was written by the same people who wrote The Road Warrior.
Yeah.
It just felt they were stretching too far. And they didn't realise that this isn't what
People
Max
watching
was about. Whereas the next one understood what Max was about.
There was never any feeling of ominous feeling around the bad guys in this.
Yeah.
They were just cartoon characters. So in the first couple, they'd say something that made you feel uneasy about them, or that made them feel a bit unwell or mentally ill or something.
Or they'd throw in that sequence of rape or whatever.
Yeah, they'd have or they'd kill somebody that's in their gang, and then be like, "Oh, geez, we need to watch out for this person because you don't know what they're going to do next."
Or alternatively, they'd be wearing arseless chaps, and you'd be thinking, "There's something off here." Nobody wears arseless chaps when there's that much sand around.
Nobody wears arseless chaps for no reason, and not in the desert, because I can tell you what, mate, there'd be some chafing.
Some sandblasting.
Yeah. What's his deal? Fair question.
That's a real renegade right there.
And let me tell you something, mate. When I pull out my pair of binoculars and I go, is that guy wearing arseless chaps in the desert? Shit. Battle stations.
Yeah, I'm out.
Everybody, get to your bloody guns. The problem too is that the PG-13 takes away any stakes.
Yeah.
Because Angry Anderson is fucking, he's got 9 lines.
He does.
The bloke should have been dead in Barter Town.
By the end of it.
In the first 5 minutes. Bill throws him off the roof.
He looks exactly like Wile E. Coyote because he's covered in soot, but he's got the eyes peering out. It's bloody ridiculous. And that was one of the things. Like, I was kind of alternating between, geez, I'm loving having Angry Anderson on screen, and then wondering why every time he got into a biff or something, it turned into slapstick.
Yeah.
Like the first part where he's got the pole and everything.
Angry's there go, ooh. Hang on, my God.
As I said before we started, like, why is there like 3 separate times in the movie where we get a shot of Angry going, just screaming at the camera when he's in imminent danger, you know? It was kind of, yes.
But it took away any stakes. And they actually
right.
didn't give Max any reason to do what he does.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? It's because they spread it out again. Like, they spread out. There were so many kids that you barely got to know and care for really any of them.
Yeah.
Whereas in the first one, you knew exactly that, okay, so it's the wife and the kid. That's his heart and soul, basically.
Yeah.
Like, and the second one...
Even the monkey kid he created.
Yeah.
That's it. The second one, it was the feral kid that was his kind of connection, and you could tell he sort of... The part of him that was like, oh, he's a man of honour or whatever, came to with the people, but he still didn't really... He was still...
He wasn't really mates with them, was he?
And they try to do that when he gives mercy in Thunderdome, but then they take it instantly away from him because he loses power in that situation, which he's shown the mercy and then he's just had it taken away from him.
Yeah.
So
some of that stuff was just...
It undoes itself.
Yeah. And less action scenes without cars. Like,
big mistake.
Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed the Thunderdome. I thought the Thunderdome was excellent, but there was still room to chuck another car chase in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Come on, why is he on fucking camels at the start?
You need things to barter. You need things to trade. You send him off on a car chase somewhere.
Or the movie should have started with a car chase, and then he gets to Barter Town and, flogs off the interceptor.
Yeah.
Or something. But...
yeah, there's ways to go.
And then he can come back and get it.
They really cocked up because if you had a good car chase at the start, then you had Thunderdome, then you had the big one at the end, I would have been happier. I mean, I know you're not catering to me, but still, I would have been happier with that.
Yeah. This was a strange dislike for me, but I just felt after watching it this time that Buster Deal face the wheel doesn't quite stick like 2 men enter, 1 man leave.
Yeah.
And let's face it, with the calibre of person in Barter Town, that wheel is fucking broken. You can't. It's been used that often.
These blokes are busted deals left and right. Max isn't the first one to pull that stuff.
Yeah, just it was kind of when that came out. I felt like they'd actually gone into the writing thing and said, "What else can we get with like this 2 men enter, 1 man leave? We got anything that we can rhyme? That'd be good. A rhyme that Auntie Anthony can sort of."
It's not a good law unless it rhymes.
That's it.
I don't have a lot of other dislikes, but the big one for me is the tribe stuff with the kids. It's another film.
Yeah,
it's another film.
Like
totally different film.
You get me into that utopia after being everywhere else. I'd be like, all right, guys, I'll catch you later. Good luck.
Mate, I am swimming around the lagoons doing white whales.
Yeah. You guys have got a shitload of water here.
Yeah.
Why go anywhere else?
Yeah, exactly.
Walk a kilometre that way and check it out. You'll be coming back pretty quickly.
Yeah, good luck finding any bloody water in there. It's just... It just felt like another movie. It felt like a kid's movie.
I still don't know how he found them. How did he find them?
They found him.
Yeah, remember he was
laying on the ground.
He busted a deals and then faced the wheel.
No, because he chased them. They left to go and find They left to go and find Barter Town, which I don't know how they're going to find anyway.
Yeah, and then he found them.
Yeah, so he. Yeah.
But I still don't know how that happened.
Again, it's an arid landscape. You wouldn't have been able to see fucking for 500.
Oh, mate, as soon as Thunderdome's going on, you can see it from miles around. Yeah. Once they start the bloody flames and shit, you can see it from anywhere because no one else has got anything to burn. So.
Oh, man. If I'm having a bath,
Yeah. I'm having a great time and I'm staying there.
Yeah.
Especially after I've been wandering through... the middle of nowhere.
Climbing a tree, sleeping like a koala.
Yeah, when he walks off and he says water and everyone drops their little sacks of water, I'm turning around and saying, look, when I get back, this is the reason we stay put.
Yeah.
You have an abundance of water. Nobody else seems to have any.
He didn't have the nous to go, I've got a Dreamtime story for you guys.
Captain whatever stumbled across the kids and we stayed in the utopia forever.
Yeah. Look, I'm not Captain Walker, but I knew Captain Walker, and what he meant to say was, we stay here. That's the part that you missed.
Captain Walker enjoys the fruits of this area and would like to stay.
Captain Walker, Captain Sitter. That's what we're doing.
There's no walking involved.
I know it's in the context of the movie that Mel's trying to help the woman and hesitates, but it's obviously a different time now, but also the fact that it's Mel Gibson and the troubles that he's had since.
Jobs are in the face.
Mel punching a woman on screen is not a good look anymore.
It seemed a tad unnecessary as well.
Yes.
I know that she was trying, she wasn't listening to him, but still.
Maybe it was ad-libbing.
It's dreadful. Like it's not something that you would willingly put in a movie without a lot of context and thought behind it. But with his history since the film, it's even worse to go back to.
Difficult to look back on.
It's funny that you brought up the kids from Temple of Doom. Because my comment was like the kids in the raid, the kids are like the Ewoks in Star Wars.
Yeah, kind of.
Which is the same sort of thing, they're scrambling everywhere and I didn't like that so much.
This is part of this Hollywoodization type of thing I feel has happened is with this one, is the second one made money, they took control and the studio said, we want something a little more...
this would be great if we could expand the
action
so
adventure.
The kids can see it as well.
Yeah, we bring in the kids. We make a PG. It's an action adventure.
Yeah,
and
still.
we
You
can
bring
sell
in
it.
cars. If you're going to have kids watch it, just bring in lots of cars crashing.
Yeah. But it made plenty of money. Surprisingly made a decent amount of money. So you can kind of see why they went that way, but still, I don't think it ever worked at all. I don't have any other dislikes because I felt that huge bit in the middle was just as boring as it could get.
Yeah, that was the main part.
I really struggled.
Yeah.
And in fact, at about the hour mark, I was just like, my God, surely we must be going to Barter Town. I flicked the thing, it's still got 45 minutes to go.
I feel like there was a couple of really memorable parts in it.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it's utterly forgettable.
Yeah. Thunderdome,
Totally.
totally rememberable, but everything else seems a little bit
I'd
generic.
kill to see the conversations between Angry Anderson and Tina Turner talking music. That
awesome.
would be...
Yeah.
That, I want to see that movie.
Tina Turner's there going, you call yourself a singer? Do you?
Mate, when he punched out Bound for Glory, I bet she was
She was like, that's on my next album.
I bet you there was a duet in the works that just didn't happen because of scheduling conflicts.
I think Tina Turner was scheduled out, mate. She wanted that tea.
I actually I forgot one. We mentioned it earlier in the likes, but I didn't go into it. But Master is one of the worst actors I've ever seen.
That whole kind of he in a phonetic type of way he speaks, where he leaves words out and that. I was just like,
yeah, stop it.
Yeah,
Stop it, bastard.
look, that whole thing also didn't really ring true. That Auntie's in charge, but Master Blaster owns the methane, and so there's a power struggle.
He's making a push, yeah.
And I get the power struggle, but it just didn't feel like Master Blaster really should have had any power at all. Like, I felt there should have been another villain, who was toe-to-toe with Tina Turner. Because Master Blaster didn't really have any personality.
Yeah.
Because the little guy was a pain in the ass and the big guy didn't do anything. Like, he was just a muscle.
Yeah.
So it just didn't feel right.
Yeah, that's right.
Again, it didn't work.
I mean, the point is maybe they look ridiculous, but they have the power, but they don't give you anything to feel fear towards them. There's nothing there.
He picks Max up a couple of times by the throat, but that kind of gets old within seconds, Like, he's, look how powerful he is. And then it doesn't really come into play. He's not really that brutal in the Thunderdome, either. It just didn't work. And it kind of clogged things up a bit, which the other films didn't have that clog in the plot.
Yeah. Everything felt like it had a purpose in the others.
Dislikes?
That was it for me.
Yeah.
I think we ripped it apart pretty well. Yep.
All right, that was Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. You can find us on Podomatic, iTunes and Spotify. Send us an email at thrillme@iinet.net.au. Like us on Facebook, Thrill Me Podcast Australia, and at Podomatic at thrillme.podomatic.com. We're also on Instagram at thrillmepodcastau. The next episode, we cap off the franchise with 2015's Mad Max Fury Road. But until then, take it easy, and we'll catch up with everyone later. Cheers. Find the podcast at Podomatic or on iTunes. Don't forget to rate and review. Like us on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia, or contact us at thrillme, all one word, all lowercase, at iinet.net.au.